If you don't know what your annual savings is, you don't know if you're saving enough. You don't know if what your savings is going to get you to where you need to be and all those things.
What's the number one secret to managing your finances effectively?
As silly as it sounds, I think the linchpin is bookkeeping. It's as simple as that. Now, obviously, well, actually, I shouldn't say it's as simple as that, but it's like the fundamental thing that you need to do to like have all the information you need to like make a good plan. And like I always say to people, I think I mentioned this already, you should treat your personal finances like a business. And when I say that, think about it. It's like if you had a business or you're talking to your friend who had a business and you were like asking them like, about how do you manage the finances, whatever. And they were like, oh, we don't do bookkeeping or anything for the business. It's like too boring. So I don't really know how we do as a business exactly, but I know I enjoy it, and I don't know that I don't always get a paycheck. I know that. I'm not really sure why, but sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. Well, that would just be ridiculous, right? You'd be like, how do you run your business and not actually like know how much money you make, how much you spend, how much profit you're making? Like what's good revenue? What's revenue maybe you should cut loose because it's not profitable? All the important questions. Well, if you don't do bookkeeping, you can't answer those questions and you can't make good educated decisions going forward. So I say to people, you got to do bookkeeping for your personal life too. It's not that different than a business. It's like you have money in, you have money out. The net profit is your annual savings. And if you don't know what your annual savings is, you don't know if you're saving enough. You don't know if what your savings is going to get you to where you need to be and all those things. So I say it's really important. I think of it as like exercise. It's one of those things a lot of people don't want to do, but unfortunately, it's really good for you. And if you don't do it, you will likely suffer some consequence.
That makes sense. Okay, so how do you then, how do you get good at bookkeeping, or how do you go about doing that?
Well, it's like, again, exercise. You just have to do it. The good thing about the difference with bookkeeping and exercise is you can't pay someone else to exercise for you and have it actually like improve your body. You can pay someone else to do bookkeeping for you, as it turns out, and just like give you the information you need, and help you make decisions. Obviously not, depending on your income level, you might not want to do that, but ultimately it's just a matter of doing it. You use some computer software. You don't do it like on paper. You don't do it in like a spreadsheet. You need something that you can put the data in and then pull a report and say, okay, this is where I'm at. So for personal finances, when I manage people's personal stuff, I use Quicken personally. I'm not affiliated with them, but I find it's what I've always used. And you can combine everything in there. I manage my real estate in there. Like, I mean, I could tell you what I spent on laundry in like 1999 if you wanted. But for businesses, small businesses, mostly it's gonna be QuickBooks or FreshBooks or whatever. But it's basically just using software, to track all this data. And then, of course, the tracking itself is tedious, for most, but it's the information you get from it that is just so important, And I do say sometimes, there are some people that can out earn the need to do this. Like you just make so much money that, having some waste in your system just doesn't matter. That's pretty rare, in my opinion, number one. Number two, if you do it, you're gonna save more than you would have otherwise, no question about it. And number three, what I've learned is you'd be surprised, no matter how much money you make, you can find ways to spend it all.
That's the truth.
You could be making $1 million a year and still be losing money every year because you got 16 boats and 4 ski-doos and 5 houses and what have you. And you're not like getting closer to financial independence,
Right.
And what I can always say is whatever you're making today, there will be a time in the future, most likely, where that income potential will be reduced, so you got to make the most of what you're making today. So I think pretty much anybody is going to benefit from it. And, the mega rich, they keep track of their money. They just pay a whole team called the family office to do it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Of course.
If you don't make millions, well, you might have to do it yourself,
Gotcha.
Or you could not and suffer the consequences.
And stay and stagnant, right? And
Exactly.
don't move. Interesting. Okay.